in a desperate escape. Kelsey is betrayed and captured, her fate falling into the unknown. As her alpha, her mate, I failed to protect her, which plunges me into deep self-blame and despair. I vow that no matter the cost, I will find her and bring her back. Chapter 20. Eli after asking for privacy. Once they left, I looked at hope.丨in all seriousness. I agree. I am a new alpha to the Moonlight Pack and I am still learning and earning the respect of them. I believe it to be very likely that I have a traitor. This is a perfect way to get me and Kelsey close again to show her I made a mistake. As for what I wanted to ask, can you loan me a couple of your warriors to help me flush out the traitor? I waited. He seemed to be deep in though, but he smirked. Who are you suggesting go with you? He had this look that almost had me thinking he knew exactly who I'd pick. Well, Kelsey for one, because it's her old pack and she knows the grounds, the ins and outs. I shrugged nonchalantly. And whoever else you'd pick. He chuckled. Listen, formalities aside for a moment. Why should I let Kelsey go to the pack that beat her? Back with the mate who rejected her, left her while she needed him, and then fucked another female. Even though he had said it calmly, I could see the anger in his eyes. I could tell he had bonded with Kelsey, and even though I knew it wasn't in that kind of way, I still felt irritated. Because I made the worst and most horrible mistake rejecting her. I was surprised when I seen her. And honestly, I don't have a real excuse other than being selfish. I sighed sadly, but I do want to prove that I've changed. That I want her more than anything else. He sat there in silence thinking. When I found Kelsey in the woods, she was very skinny, bruised. She was so malnutrition-ed and weak from beatings that she passed out. She didn't even try to fight for survival. I could see it in her eyes as she spoke to me that she had given up. The more he spoke, the more I broke as well as Xavier. He wanted to comfort our mate, and he knew she was in pain. Our wolves connected slightly, but I rejected her before Xavier even leaned her wolf's name. He was furious with me and rarely talked to me. She was examined by my mate. She has scars all over her back. She wasn't rusting, and it took a while for her to open up to us. But now she is healthy and happy. She is like a daughter to me and my mate. So I warn you, hurt her and I will destroy you and everyone who ever harmed her. He snarled. I growled back. I will not hurt her. Pray you don't, or you will have more than rouges to worry about. Come, we will go get Kelsey. He walked out, and when we got outside he roared at the sight in front of us. Kelsey was pounding into someone until she heard gawk, and then as we rushed forward she got off of Brittany. A small misunderstanding, she said calmly. She was barely breathing hard at all. I looked down at Brittany's bloodied face and then to Kelsey. You did this? I asked in shock. I did. She stated. What was the misunderstanding? and asked. She seems to have it in her head that I am after her Eli and she was warning me off. Even though she's a complete idiot. She couldn't comprehend that I left their pack for a reason. She shrugged like she didn't care. She also felt threatened by me because her and Alpha Eli have an agreement. I choked on air. What the hell did she mean agreement? What agreement? What agreement? I asked, confused. She shrugged. Her being claimed as your mate and Luna. I could see how hard it was for her to keep her mask up. For a split second I seen pain on her face. Comfort our mate. Xavier demanded. She won't let me that close, yet. Give me time, Xavier. He went quiet. What the fuck? I never agreed to that or anything like that. I never agreed to that shit. She laughed. Anyways, she sunk her claws into my arm. I played with her. I did warn her, and then she got pissy and tried to shift, so I stopped her. She looked right at hope.丨as she said that. They seemed to have a private understanding. I was confused. This is true. They both had words. And when Kelsey tried to walk away, Brittany grabbed her. Alex. I seen Kelsey smile at him and instantly felt jealous that my beta and based friend made my mate smile. Well, Alex, you grab Brittany and take her to get cleaned up. I said, wanting Alex busy even though I knew he wouldn't touch Kelsey. Am I free to go? Kelsey asked hope.丨. Actually, Kelsey, I need to have a word with you. hope.丨said, and she nodded. We followed him back to his office. Chapter 21 Kelsey. I followed both aficionados and Eli into his study. I suddenly became nervous. What did they need to speak with me about? Calm down, Kel. My wolf said, reassuring me. I took a deep breath. Have a seat, Kelsey. I did as my alpha said and sat down. I never looked at Eli. I kept my gaze on Gra. It seems that Alpha Eli here is taking your opinion highly. He believes that you're right. I remained cool even though I was highly shocked that he'd actually consider it. He has also requested a couple of my wolves to help him. Now I stared at him in confusion. That confusion turned into realization and anger. I said through clenched teeth. Alpha Gra nods. He has personally requested you, but I will let you choose who will help you. Unfortunately, Jason must remain here. He watched me closely and I could also feel Eli's eyes on me. Stay cool. Don't let him think it affects you, Kel. My wolf said. How do I do this, Sierra? I can't do this. I panicked. You can. We will prove that we're stronger and that he made the worst mistake denying us. She replied calmly. Very well. I want Tyler to come. Eli growled. Choose another. I looked at him and raised a brow. Why? I was told I can pick and I've already chosen. He simply grumbles and doesn't say any more on it. I returned to looking at Gra, and the proud look is back. I simply smile. So it's decided. Pack what you'll need and you leave today. Alpha Gra said simply, and I bit my lip. I stood. Am I excused then? Yes, my alpha said, and I leave the room without looking back. I head straight for Tyler. I yell and he jogs over, slinging his arm over my shoulder. Sup, did you get your ass chewed? He asked, smirking. I rolled my eyes. No, but I've been requested to help Alpha Eli flush out the traitor. I finish in our private mind link. He stopped and stared at me wide-eyed in shock, then it turned to half sympathy and half rage. What do you mean you've been requested? He asked. Seems Eli wants me personally to help. Oh, by the way, I choose you as my second, so pack your bags. We leave today. I grin like a mad woman as he chokes on air. Wyatt. He yells and I laugh hysterically. I simply nod, cut his back and head off to pack a bag. I bump into someone and know that it's Eli. Even though our bond is dulled, I can still feel the ghosts of tingles. But I don't even look up as I mumble an apology and walk away quickly. I will have to be quick. I won't be able to stand it long. I say to myself, then get to work on packing cloths and necessities. Chapter 22 Kelsey. Tyler and I meet Eli. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing cliche enthusiasm. Brittany and the others outside. I smirk while Brittany glares daggers at me. What I do? To sink my canines into her skankiest Sierra growls, which makes me laugh out loud. I clap my mouth shut quickly. Tyler gives me a questioning look, but I shake my head. Seems you're both ready. Let's go then. Eli says as he turns around, and Tyler and I follow. Remember what I said, Alpha Eli. Alpha Gra yells before we disappear into the woods. Wonder what he told Eli. Oh well. Tyler. So well, you know how my old pack is. Don't be a hothead, but don't take their shit either, okay? I say, though I mind. Link. He smiles slightly. Don't worry. We may be able to teach this pack a thing or two by time we're done. I shake my head. Tyler is always so positive. Sometimes I wish for that. I notice that Eli walks closer to me. I give him a questioning glance. How have you been? He asks randomly. I can't help but laugh at the absurdity of that question. Seriously. I've been great with the Blood Rouge pack. I'm pretty sure I'm in love with everyone. He seems in thought when Tyler opens his mouth. Oh, and they love you to Kelly. Especially the male. My head jerks around and I glare at him. What's he doing? He remembers that this is an alpha, he goading right. I hear growling and I look at Eli, who stops, so Tyler and I both stop. I notice Brittany and the others stopped, but then suddenly began walking again, leaving Alex behind. So the males in your pack are in love with her? Eli asks. Well, he snarls it more. Tyler folds his arms and nods. They do. They watch her when she trains, and look at her every chance they get, but this shouldn't be shocking to her former alpha. I'm sure you've noticed she has perfect skills, a perfect body that males fantasize about. He grins smugly while Eli steps forward. I glare harder at Tyler. Don't goad him. I know what you're doing, but please, stop. I beg through our link. He sighs and turns his back. A slight nod and I feel better. Turning back to Eli, I shake my head. Whether what he says is true or well over-exaggerated or not, it's really none of your business. It is my business because you are mine. I stiffen, not expecting that reaction. No, I'm not. I growl back. Aficionados. You rejected me, and I accepted. End of story. I glare and turn on my heel and begin to walk away. I won't give up, Kelsey. I made a mistake, but never doubt that you are mine, Eli says confidently. I give no reply but continue walking. I feel Tyler beside me, but he knows better than to ask when I'm angry. The nerve of him, saying his. He rejected me. So why now a month later is he saying his like some possession? I shake my head trying to clear my thoughts. Maybe we should give him a chance. Sierra says slowly. He rejected our Sierra. Why should I? I don't want to be hurt again. And I sure as hell don't want you hurt. He is an Eli may have, but Xavier hasn't. He wants us and he hasn't talked to Eli much if at all since we were rejected. Sierra says. It's unusual for the human and the wolf to disagree when it comes to a mate, but seems in my case it's not. I will think about it, wanting to drop it. Okay, KL. My wolf whimpers. Chapter 23. Kelsey. Finally, a few hours of walking, we make it to the Moonlight Pack House. I immediately want to go to my room and rest, but unfortunately I know that won't be the case. But with Tyler right beside me, I do feel better, like I'm not alone to deal with these people. Eli begins to lead office. I see several of the pack members giving us confused looks. Males giving me lusty looks, while females did the same to Tyler. How does this feel to get watched by the packs? That's like your new meat, I asked Tyler, mentally giggling. Dirty. And I see him shiver beside me. Once we are behind Eli's office door, he closes in and sits down. Please sit. We obey and I take a seat beside Tyler. So you've both been brought up to date by aficionados on why you are here. For others you will simply say you're helping to train, which means you will both be attending training until I say otherwise or need your help. Is that understood? He asks calmly. I nod, not bothering to reply. Yes, Alpha. Tyler says. Then, I will have Alex show you both to your rooms. Eli says, and then the door opens, revealing Alex. We all stand and I try to follow Tyler out when a hand grabs my arm. I didn't need to look to see who it was. The tingled and sparks were a giveaway that it was Eli. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'd like to speak with you a moment alone, he says quietly, but Tyler heard and stopped. He glared at Eli, but I gave him a warning look and he quickly covered it. I know this pack. Though Tyler is not from this pack and he's in third command position, I didn't want to chance him getting hurt. I sigh, and nod to Tyler, who gives me a "I'll listen for your call" before following Alex. I yank my arm out of Eli's grip and turn, taking the seat I was in previously. Stop. I hear Eli sigh as he takes his seat. I make sure to keep my face emotional, sis. We simply stared at each other for a few minutes before he finally spoke. I know that it won't be enough, and I know that I made the worst mistake of my life. But I'm so sorry for rejecting you. I can't even give a worthy excuse for why I would do such a thing. I knew the moment you accepted that I had made a bad choice. I was going to begin to make it up to you the next day, but you had already left. I tried to find you, but I couldn't. He took a deep breath, and I continued to stare blankly while he obviously waited for a reply. I trailed off, leaving him to believe that was all I'd say, but then continued. You did make a mistake, and I appreciate that you can admit it. You're also right that a simple "I'm sorry" won't do a damn thing to help. I began to get worked up thinking about it. I went through hell in this pack. Years and years of mental, Emotional and physical abuse. The one thing that kept me from ending my life was my wolf. Though I didn't hear her voice, then I knew she would want us to find our mate. And I waited so long. I felt the hurt and the frustrated tears slip down my cheeks. And finally the day came and I was rejected. Almost raped, and when my own mate, who is supposed to love me, cherish me and protect me, Assad breaks free, calls me a whore, and then goes to another female. I shake my head. Chapter 24. Eli. I watched her as she took a breath, wondering if she'd continue. You did make a mistake. And while I appreciate that you can admit it, you're also right that a simple "I'm sorry" won't do a damn thing to help. I watched her face become a bit red. I went through hell in this pack. Years and years of mental, emotional and physical abuse. The one thing that kept me from ending my life was my wolf. Though I couldn't hear her then, I knew she'd want us to find our mate. And I waited so long. I watched the tears slide down her beautiful face, and itched to wipe them away. But I stayed seated, knowing she wouldn't want me to. And finally the day came and I was rejected. Almost raped, and when my own mate, who is supposed to love me, cherish me and protect me, Assad breaks free, calls me a whore, and then goes to another female. She shake her head. Where would I even begin to make up for my mistake? How could I prove to her that I will be there when she needs me, and trusts me to do so? Let me take over, Xavier demands. But do as he said. He pushes forward as I am pushed back. Xavier. I stand and go to my hurting mate. I crush her to my chest and just hold her as she tries to struggle. Let go, she cries, and it breaks my heart. Mate, calm down. Please. I beg. She pushes harder. I said, let go, Eli. Now, I am not Eli. I am his wolf's Avia. I say calmly. She suddenly stops struggling and I look down. Her big blue eyes that are now glassy due to her tears are staring up at me. I slowly and lovingly wipe her tears away. Xavier, why did he reject me and Sierra? Was I not enough? I cup her face, making her look at me. Do not ever think that you or Sierra aren't good enough. You are both perfect, Eli. Eli just had a moment of stupidity. I cannot make you give him another chance. But I need you, and so does Eli. I love you so much, little one. I kiss her cheek slowly so she can pull away if wanted, but she doesn't. I become extremely happy but don't dare show it. I can't take away what happened, but Eli, I can take the pain away. Eli realized his error and searched for you. He wouldn't sleep, wouldn't eat. I only ask for a small amount of faith that he has changed. Let us make it up to you. I was close to going to my knees. Even though I'm alpha for my mate in love, I would do what I needed to win her back. She stared at me for a moment. Her tears dried up. I will think about it, Xavier. I can't help the sadness I feel, but I nod. I understand. She stood to leave, then paused. She turned and flung herself at me. Her lips hit mine in a passionate-filled kiss. I immediately responded, wrapping my arms around her waist. She pulled away slowly, and I noticed her eyes, which were a bright blue, now darker, which meant, I love you, Xavier. But Kelsey will need time. She was devastated when she got rejected. She was dreaming, hoping, and praying our mate would save her from the beatings and the insults. Sierra says, and Eli, I know you can hear me. I forgive you, but I will not stand for you hurting her again. If you do, I will hurt you. She threatens, then walks to the door. She turns as she opens it and winks before disappearing. Don't fuck this up, Eli. I warn and hand him control again. Chapter 25. Kelsey PT1 of Deadly Night. Oh my God. Please. Please, Ty, don't leave me. Keep your eyes open. I screamed at him, my hands and shirt covered in his blood. I could hear his heartbeat slowing, and his eyes began to flutter closed, but I shook him. The tears wouldn't stop. Don't just fucking stand there. Help him. I yelled at the 2 pack members that were on patrol with us. But they didn't move, they stood there just watching. I was about to yell again when something caught my attention, then I seen her. I was wondering what she was doing here when I felt something hit me hard on the back of the head, making me see spots. Then darkness took me. Our earlier Tyler. Kelsey, my office. Eli said in his alpha tone, though it had no effect on me. Tyler flinched. It honestly made me mad. There's no reason to use it on us. After we walked into the office, I shut the door behind me and looked at Eli. Tyler, you work border tonight with Alex. Kelsey, you will stay here and observe everyone that's off duty. They will be here in the pack house tonight. He explained, and I sighed. Yay, more time with our mate. Sierra says, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. We will be working, I remind so. He will be watching us, and near us it's good enough for me. Though you should be nicer. She scolds and I mentally shake my head. Ted, are you okay? Tyler asks me and I look at him with a small smile. I am. Be careful tonight, Ty. Worried for my friend. Over the days he has learned the territory grounds, but I still fear for him. He nods and stands. I wait to be dismissed, noticing the distant look that we know too well when mind linking. Alex will be here to show you a post. Oe says, just as Alex walks in. Tyler pats my arm in cordially before leaving. I sigh aloud. Great night without my Tyler. The Tyler who makes me feel comfortable in this horrible place. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Eli says so softly it feels like a caress against my skin, causing me to shiver in response. I turned to look at Eli and not realizing that while I was lost in thought he had moved closer, causing my face to hit his chest as I turned, instantly sending sparks through me at the contact. I backed up and looked up at him. His eyes gentle, but what was in them was pure longing. Lust and love. I had to look away. What? It barely coming out as a whisper. I hated how he affected me without trying. I hated how weak I was. I know you aren't comfortable here. I scoff at that, but he continues. I will do my best to keep you comfortable. To make you feel safe. I know I fucked up. But once this is over, I won't know I'm asking. When he stopped, I looked up at him. He looked nervous. I mean really nervous. He was chewing his bottom lip and he looked like he was trying to finish the words. Spit it out, Eli. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Those surprisingly came out gentle instead of rude. Will you stay long enough to go on a date with me? He asked quickly, but I understood. I stared at him at a loss for how I wanted to respond. Do I chance getting hurt? Or do I take a chance that I won't? Chapter 26 Kelsey PT2 Deadly Night. I thought as quickly as I could. Consider if his offer. Of course Sierra was howling with joy, and so for her. Let's wait until this is over and we will see. I said slowly. I seen the disappointment instantly before he covered it with a small smile. I understand, he said sweetly. I nodded, turned and left. I began observing the off-duty pack patrol. As they filed in for food and entertainment. No one seemed out of sorts, but that I noticed someone was missing. Brittany, thinking back on it. She had avoided me the entire time I was here except for a glare or two. I wonder where she is. I pushed the thought to the back of my mind, and continued watching, even talked to a few. One being Max, the only nicer wolf of this pack, but still nothing out of the ordinary. My mind buzzed slightly. I knew someone was trying to link me and knew it was probably Ty. Dropping my block, I'm greeted with ear-piercing scream. I jumped from my seat, knocking the chair over in the process. Everyone's attention turned to me. Rouges. Eli Rouges. I yelled, running out the door to follow Tyler's scent. Even though I knew around the area he would be, I would shift if I had to. But what had me scared was the amount of blood I smelt in the air, and I recognized it as Tyler's. I could hear the warning howl from Eli, but I continued forward until I seen the body on the ground. I froze for but a moment before I ran forward. I looked for the deepest wound and covered it with my hands. I used my weight to press, feeling the blood soak my shirt. I felt the tears come as I watched Tyler's face pale from blood loss. Where was Eli? Tyler began spitting up blood and coughing. Oh my God. Please. Please, please, Ty, don't leave me. Keep your eyes open. I screamed at him, my hands and shirt covered in his blood. I could hear his heartbeat slowing, and his eyes began to flutter closed, but I shook him. The tears wouldn't stop. Don't just fucking stand there. Help him. I yelled at the 2 pack members that were on coach roll with us, but they didn't move. They stood there just watching. I was about to yell again when something caught my attention. Then I seen her. I was wondering what she was doing here when I felt something hit me hard on the back of the head, making me see spots. My last thoughts before darkness took me was, where was Eli? And will my best friend die? Chapter 27. Kelsey yelled at Eli, letting him know of the Rouges attacking, and ran to find Tyler, only to find him fatally wounded. And then she blacked out due to a hit to the head. Eli. I heard Kelsey yell out, and the pack panicked, cutting my view of her off, which in turn had me panic. If Rouges were attacking, she had just left the safety of the pack house and was now in danger. I growled loudly, everyone instantly freezing and turning their attention to me. Women and children to the safe room. Warriors, get out there and defend our pack now. I command as I run outside. I howl out as I shift. Xavier, feeling anxious for our mate. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I ask somewhat desperately. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. It takes a few moments before I hear his groggy reply. Eli, where are you? Where is Tyler? Is Kelsey near you? My questions just flow out. The border. West side. I hear the internal groan from him. Eli, Tyler's wounded. Badly. I can smell Kelsey's scent, but it's faint. She was here, but she isn't now. He sounded confused. I quickly linked the pack doctor to prepare for our arrival as I ran quickly to the western border. Once I arrived, I shifted quickly, pulling on shorts. Watched as Alex wrapped Tyler's wounds the best he could. What happened? I asked as Alex lifted Tyler up. I noticed the blood soaking Alex's hair. He shakes his head. I'm not sure. Tyler and I knew some Rouges were close to us, but we didn't expect so many. They attacked and I lost sight of Tyler when someone smacked me over the head. I growl in frustration and pray Tyler can give me answers I need. We finally make it to the pack doctor and she immediately begins to work on Tyler. You have to leave Alpha, she says sternly. We can't be distracted. When he's stable and awake, you can speak to him. Instead of arguing, I leave the room, quickly mind linking to call a meeting. As everyone sits down, I begin. I don't know why the Rouges attacked us, but I know that it won't be over just because they retreated. I believe they've taken my mate, and I want all trackers out there looking for her. The Rouges captured will give us the information that we want, but until this is settled, no one, and I mean no one, is allowed in or out of our pack grounds without my say-so. Understood? They all replied, yes, Alpha. And I nodded. Dismissed. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Dr. Emma asked. Yes. Tyler is awake, she says politely. I don't reply before I run into the pack doctor. Bursting through the door, I get a glare from Drive. Emma. I ignore the glare and go straight for Tyler. Art turns his head towards me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You have to save her. Please. He begs, his voice coming out scratchy. Do you know who took Kelsey? What happened? I ask calmly, even though both me and my wolf were desperate for answers. I don't remember much, but I heard Kelsey begging and screaming at me to keep my eyes open. He closed his eyes as if searching for a memory. It was me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And to younger wolves there, but as I laid there with Alex knocked out, the other just simply stood there even when Kelsey yelled at them. He cleared his throat, and I got up and offered him water. They helped the Rouges, but their leader was I don't remember her name. I thought myself wondering who the woman could be, and why they'd kidnapped Kelsey. The woman who was with you when you came to our pack. Kelsey whooped her ass, he said, and it all clicked into place. Brittany, I whispered. He nodded, confirming it. He began to shake. I believe they thought I died. But she wasn't alone. She had hunters with her, Eli. I turned to look at him sharply, my heart beat racing. Hunters? But why only take Kelsey? Why no others? I demanded. Tyler seemed to be considering his answer. I swore I'd never betray her secret, even to you. Her mate, but helped you save her, I have to. Kelsey is a white wolf. I stared at him in shock. It all made sense now. The attacks, who they were looking for. All along they were after Kelsey, and I brought her straight into their trap. Oh my God. It's all my fault. I got up and ran out of the room. Xavier howled in sorrow. They will torture her. Xavier whimpers. I cringe thinking of it. We will save her. Chapter 28. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I woke hearing voices arguing around me, but at first I couldn't concentrate on what the voices said. My head was throbbing painfully, and when I tried to open my eyes the first time, I immediately closed them and groaned in pain. Oh, it seems someone is finally awake. One voice said. I could definitely tell it was male. I tried opening my eyes once again and this time succeeded. But I could only squint. I quickly took in my surroundings. I seemed to be in a basement. How did I get here? Why am I here? After I asked myself the questions, the memories of what had happened came rushing back to me. Tyler bleeding. The rouges, and then seeing Brittany there, and then the pain in my head. My attention zoomed around until they rested on Brittany. My throat felt scratchy and sore. She smirked at me. Now you won't be in my way of becoming alpha female. I glared. How funny, didn't realize I was so threatening. I turned to look at the rouge male. He was somewhat attractive, yet he had an aura about him. And you? I don't know why you're in on this, but it won't end well for you. He chuckled darkly. Oh, you've got it backwards. The female we hired. She has become very useful to us in finding you. I was confused. Why were rouges looking for me? What did this man want? The confusion obviously showed because he continued. I am the one who's been wanting you. Brittany was talking to one of her friends about you, so when I asked more questions she was happy to answer. Then she began to help me attack your pack. Oh wait, your old pack. Anyways, it was Brittany's suggestion to ask for help. She somehow knew where you went, and therefore the call was made and Eli brought you back. The rouge grinned. It worked wonderfully. I growled. So why me? Why do you want me? He seemed to think about that for a moment, and then whispered to Brittany, who then left soon after. You see, I heard a rumor around the rouges that the Moonlight Pack had a white wolf. It was known that the said wolf was female, so I had Brittany watch all females, and I watched some as they came into the forest. But we both have never seen you shift. My body felt shock, and a sense of dread. They know. Oh God, now shift. But I refused. If you don't willingly, I will force you to. He smirked when I paled. Chapter 29. Kelsey. I didn't want to shift. So what do I do? Being forced to shift is a painful process, or so I've heard. I've never personally went through it, but I've heard that the way to do it is to break bones one by one. And they have a drug that can do it too. But I believe this rouge would torture me before getting the drug. We have no choice, K.L. Sierra whimpered. We have to preserve our strength. I bit my lip, nervous, but decided to go with what my wolf said. I shifted, but still couldn't make it far with the shackles on my ankle. I looked up to the rouge, who was growing so big that it was scary. I stood tall instead of cowering as I wanted. I knew it. Finally, the white wolf, he said with glee as he moved forward to touch me, I think, but my growl stopped him. He stared at me for a long while, then turned and grabbed a shirt and threw it at me. Shifted, then, I will be back later, he said, then left me in the room alone. I shifted and quickly pulled the shirt on, thankful that I was at least alone in the room. Now what do I do? I looked around better and didn't see any windows at all. Just concrete. Cinder blocks. Hell, who knows? What do we do, Sir? I asked, desperate. I'm trying to contact Eli's wolf, Xavier, but I'm not sure if I'm getting through. I internally nodded. I will pray you'll get to him. But even if you do, we have no clue where we are. I cursed my negativity, but it was the truth. We had no clue where we were, but if we could get a hold of Xavier, we may be able to find out the information that we need. With that new hope in mind, I pray that it will actually work. Because if it doesn't, I don't know how we will ever be free. I woke from sleeping to the sound of footsteps. It sounded like one pair, but I couldn't be sure. I looked around, remembering that the room had no windows, so I won't be able to tell how long I'd slept. When the door opened and the light hit me, I winced from being in the dark so long. When he turned the light on, I glared at the rouge in front of me. He walked to me dragging a chair. Once directly in front of me he sat. This, my dear, will be your new home. Don't think of escaping because you will be punished. And you won't like it, he said with a smile. Chapter 30. Eli. A month later. I haven't stopped or even rested from searching for Kelsey. I've continued updating Alpha-GRA and his beta Jason. They have helped and have sent numerous trackers out to help me widen my search. But, even with their help, no luck. Tyler has fully healed, thank God, and has been going just as long as I have searching for his best friend. I can't say that I'm not happy to have his help, because I know the more people helping, the better chance we have in finding her. Brittany has been a pain in my ass, always reminding me she could be dead because of how long it's been, and each time I have to stop Xavier from ripping her head off her shoulders. Since I know she was there, I've kept my beta, Alex, on her tail, hoping, praying that she will make a mistake and lead us to Kelsey. I look out my window, thinking of where they would take my beautiful mate. What could they be doing to her as I sit here trying to figure out where she is? I've never felt more helpless in my life. I failed to not only cherish my mate, but to protect her. I rub my temples, feeling a headache coming on, until I feel Xavier become restless. Our mate is trying to speak to us, Xavier exclaimed, howling with joy and relief. How can she speak to us? We have no bond strong enough for that yet. I don't hear her. On the verge of panic and fear, Xavier's POV. Sarah, are you okay? I asked, desperate to hear that they are fine. Yes, XAV, we are. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I wish I could tell you our exact location, but we're in a room with no windows. It's concrete. We can't smell anything, she says in sadness. I notice a bit of weakness or tiredness in her voice that worries me, but I know my mate is strong. You took you. What have they done to you? Even though I know Brittany has been a part of it, and I need to know what she's going through. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. He hasn't ever told us a name, but we know Brittany was a part of this. We've seen her here, see her grow in anger, ignoring my question of her physical condition. I know, baby. We are trying. We heard she was a part of it and have been tailing her, but she hasn't slipped up yet. Be strong, my love, I say, hoping it gives her some strength. I will, Xavier. I love you, she whispers tiredly. I hold back a whimper at her distress. I will find you. Never give up, I stress to her. But then soon after the link is broken, I decided to quickly inform Eli of what's happened. Eli. I wait, and wait. It seems like hours, even though it's been only minutes before Xavier finally answers me again. Zero was talking to me. Xavier begins. I suddenly feel nervous at the obvious worry in his voice. They are weak and tired. I don't know what they are going through. They are in a room. No windows. They have no name of the Rouge. He is smart. If he escapes us, we will have no way to track him other than scent, which ECA can be erased. I hear a small whimper, and I feel the sadness well up inside me. I see red as I think about Brittany's betrayal. She will pay, and she will tell me where my mate is, or she will be wishing for death. I have waited and waited, but now maybe I should make a direct approach. I quickly have an exchange with Alex to bear his opinion, and I'm happy he agrees. I tell him to take Brittany to a holding cell and await me. I'm taken from my thoughts by a knock. I quickly give permission to enter. I'd look up to see Tyler. Perfect, just the person I wanted to see. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Dawn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Anything. His eyes hopeful. I shake my head. Not really. But close the door and lock it. He does as I ask. And looks at me curious. I know she's alive. I say confidently. He takes a sharp breath. How are you so sure? Her wolf contacted mine a few moments ago. The Tyler cuts me off. His face determined. Where is she? Is she okay? He asks quickly. I sigh. And ignore that he just interrupted me. She doesn't know. They are in a basement of some sort. No windows. And honestly she didn't say, but Xavier said she sounded tired and weak. But she ignored his question about herself. I say a bit sadly. Then growl out I was also told she had seen Brittany. Recently. So now I'm taking a direct approach. Tyler nods vigorously. May I come? I debate and nod. Yes. I get up and head to the holding cells. Chapter 31 Eli. Tyler and I walk to the holding cells. The closer I go, the more angry I got. Right before I walked in, I stopped. Closed my eyes and took a deep breath. Calm down, Xavier. Instead of replying to me, he growled and closed the link off between us. I walked in and seen Alex glaring disgustedly at Brittany. I went to a chair and sat down while Tyler took a seat next to me. I observed Brittany. She looked calm and confident, and had a smirk on her face. I wanted nothing more than to rip it off her face. Why am I here? Her voice annoying me, because we know you know where my mate is. I want you to tell me or else I will make you wish for death. I stated calmly. I could see fear flash in her eyes. She shook her head. I don't know where that bitch is. She sneered. Tyler. Alex and I growled at her disrespect of Kelsey and her lie. I put my face in hers, my breath fanning her face. If you continue to lie, I will get started with your punishment. I smirked when she paled. I can't. She was shaking now. Tell me. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Dawn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I watched her flinch. She's in a H house. D, deep in the woods. I growled a no ie. Show us. I slammed a map on the table. She slowly looked it over, then pointed to an area. If you are lying to me, I will make your life a living hell, I promised as Alex. Tyler and I left the room. Find a guard and have her locked up until we return. Alex nodded and disappeared. I gathered the fighters and any others willing to fight with me, and also called Alpha Gia Aiken to let him know what was going on. He'll be there, Alpha Gia Aiken had said before he hung up on me. Once my wolves were ready, we shifted and ran towards our location, hoping and praying along the way that my mate was okay. Baby, I'm coming, just hang on. I sent through the link hoping she received it. Or at least Sarah. Chapter 32 Kelsey. A whole month of nothing but pure torture. And males threatening to do more than either hit or touch. It's sickening how weak I've become. I can't fight them. They keep me chained down or sedated. The Rouge leader has simply made me shift once in a while. He has been trying to get me so weak that I'll be forced to mate with him and join him. In the beginning I was supposed to be sold to hunters, but for some reason that I've yet to figure out, this Rouge now wanted me. I was groggy from their sedation. I guess they've gotten tired from me screaming in pain that they caused. I kept my eyes closed because my eyelids felt overly heavy. I could hear two hushed voices and knew one of them was the Rouge leader. Why are we even bothering to keep her? Can't we just sell her off to the hunters? A voice I didn't recognize said no. I believe we would benefit more if she was mated to one of us, me. And if we can get her weak enough and submissive enough, she will beg us to spare her, and when she does I will let her go if she joins our cause. The vile leader said, against the pack. Again the unrecognizable voice asked yes. She is Eli's mate. I want revenge on him for. And suddenly the voices began to walk away. I couldn't hear why he wanted revenge on Eli. End of flashback. I could feel Sierra stir at the memory of Eli. I wonder where he was. Was he looking for us? I shook my head. My whole being was giving up. Emotionally and physically I was drained. "He is coming, Kate Eel," he said so along with Xavier. Sierra reminded. For the 1000th time. I'm getting weaker, not stronger, Sierra. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I shook my head and for the first time tears threatened to spill. I've been strung. I've waited for my so-called mate who is wanting another chance to come. But it's been, I assume, weeks. Has it been a month? 2 and he still isn't here. He hasn't found me. Is he still looking? Did he give up and move on? I bit my chapped lip to keep the sob in. I closed my eyes ready for darkness to consume me when I heard a faint voice. "Baby, I'm coming, just hang on." I opened my eyes and looked around, but all that was seen was darkness. I laughed, sadly. Now I'm hearing things. No, that was Eli. "He's coming, Kate Eel. He's coming," Sierra barked excitedly. Eli. I prayed I was strong enough to send it through. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Oh my God. Are you okay, babe? I'm coming. I know where you are. I'm on my way with our fighters from mine and Alpha Grokka NS pack. Eli said, in hurry. The tears and sobs that threatened to break free finally did. And I couldn't control them. He was coming. Please. Hurry. I can't take this anymore. My voice came out strained and weak. I know, baby. Don't give up. I'm going to get you out and then I'll make sure you're always safe. His own voice came back strained with emotion. I suddenly heard footsteps. And I felt the fear and dread. I wish I had given you that chance sooner, Eli. Sorry. I'd never seen Eli again and see where we could be in 5 years or even 10. I'd never seen Gia, Ake, Ken and Jamie again. My body seemed to shut down when I seen the Rouge walk in with a grin. I could barely hear Eli's cries. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Don't you dare give up. Do you hear me? When the door opened, I knew they'd come back to finish their training. I let the darkness consume my. Chapter 33 Eli. A whole month of searching for a location and finally I have it. A whole month of waiting to see and hear my mate and at least I've finally heard her. But I can't explain the amount of sadness, nor fear I feel hearing her so defeated. I wish I had given you that chance sooner, Eli. Sorry, she said suddenly. I could hear the fear and sadness in her voice. The voice she used was broken and says, utterly defeated. Oh my God. She's giving up. No. I can finally save her, she can't give up. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Don't you dare give up. Do you hear me? I screamed through the link, but suddenly felt it cut off. The fear I felt earlier has maximized by 1,000-fold. I could hear Xavier and feel him giving me a boost of power to run faster. And I didn't fight it. I ran and dodged everything in my way. I will save my mate. Or die trying. Kelsey, I don't know how long I slept, but when I woke and opened my eyes, I wish I hadn't. The Rouge sat there watching me with his creepy grin. Finally, you're awake. Now we can begin. He stood and moved towards me. I now noticed I was no longer chained, and you'd think I'd first try to at least escape, but the fact they barely fed me. Or gave me water, I can hardly move. He crouched down next to me, grabbing my chin in his hands so that I was forced to look up at him. I love the look in your eyes. He gushed like a child on Christmas. Dull. No spark. Submissive. I felt a spark go through me at the word, then heard Sierra growl, I am not as submissive and I never will be. I want to help. I want to move, but my body aches and hurts everywhere. Stop being a baby. Come on, Kelsey. Get up. Punch him. Spit in his fucking face. Do something. Cyrus snarled at me. I couldn't even flinch from her voice or her scolding. I simply stared at the vile monster in front of me. Nothing to say, love. He taunted and chuckled when I was silent. I believe it's time we move this along. I was confused. Move what along? He stood up, looking down at me, and then he slowly began to unbuckle his belt. I wasn't sure where the fear I felt was directed. The possibility of him beating me with it, or the possibility that he may. My thought was completely shattered when I heard a ripping sound. Looking down, I seen my shirt shredded in the front and my heart rate increased. Please, do something, Kelsey.
Don't let him do it.
Please. Cyrus begged. And for once I was finally able to feel a small amount of power rush into me. I may be broken now, but I won't let this monster take my virginity. I stayed still, and he seemed to think it was even better. He openly stared at my balances. You're beautiful. It still surprises me on why your ex-mate would reject you. But then, he crouched down again and ran his sick finger down my cheek, to my neck. He hasn't seen you at your best. He dropped his belt beside him, which was in front of me. You will be screaming my name. He began but stopped. That's right, you don't know it. My name is Adrian. He grinned. Taking his shirt off, he flung it aside, then began the process of unbuttoning his pants. I stayed still, waiting for the right time. When I did, heard a sudden commotion of screaming and growls. I knew Eli had made it. I grabbed the belt and began to hit him with it. I listened to him hiss, grunt, and even once scream in pain as the metal pierced his skin, and felt great satisfaction over it. But it didn't last long. He snatched the belt and tugged hard, making me lose balance. I tried to at least regain it, but couldn't, and fell to the floor. Before I could even more, he was on top of me. You little bitch. I'll kill you now. Chapter 30. For real, I kill them all. Except the women and children. I ordered to my fighters and to Alpha Grok AS. I didn't hesitate to kill those in front of me as I ran for the cabin. And if I didn't kill them, Alex or GRA and did it for me. Once I made it into the cabin, I could smell my mate's scent. Xavier clawed to get full control, to run to his mate and kill everyone, but I held him back. Xavier may be nice and reasonable most times, but his mate was in danger, and no one, and I mean no one, would survive. Not even the women, children. I killed those in the house quickly, a couple trying to overpower me, getting a scratch in here and there, but I shoved them off and snapped their necks. I began looking around, when Alpha G, Arkan, and Alex came in. They stood in human form, all dead, and women and children all surrounded. Alex reported. I nodded and shifted, pulling the shorts on that Alex threw to me. I followed my mate's scent to the basement when I heard a slapping noise. Then a scream. I moved quicker, then slammed the door open. I couldn't stop Xavier this time from taking full control at the site before us. A Rouge was on top of our mate, his hands around her throat and her chest bare and open to his eyes. You little bitch. I'll kill you now. The Rouge snapped at her. Xavier. My body vibrated with the fury and rage I felt for seeing my mate in such a horrible situation. As soon as the words left the filthy Rouge's mouth, I tackled him to the floor. I could instantly hear my mate desperately coughing and gasping for air, which set my blood boiling. My claws scratched his skin. His blood splattered against me as I threw punches and clawed him. He screamed the first few times but began laughing. You've lost. Coughing up blood. Even if you kill me, it won't be over with. He coughed again. His voice lowered. I've already let the hunters know that I found a white wolf. They won't stop now. Your mate will never be safe. I could hear his heart slowing, and I growled loud enough to shake the room. I wanted him alive to suffer. Not simply die now when I've just begun. But before my thought finished, he went limp in my hands. His heart no longer beating, and I punched him again. And again. And again. Not feeling satisfied. But a hand on my shoulder made my hand freeze mid-air. The shocks running through me let me know it was my mate. I turned to look at her and noticed her once sparkling blue eyes were now dull and void of any happiness. They only held sadness and defeat. I wanted to cry. I could literally feel my eyes stinging from the coming tears. I stood and turned slowly, not wanting to frighten her further. I slowly pulled her into my arms, holding her to my chest. I nuzzled my face into the curve of her neck, calming myself and hoping to comfort her. "I've got you, little mate," I said soothingly. Once I was happy that she was in my arms, I gave Eli back control. Chapter 35. Kelsey. After being picked up and held by Eli, the entire amount of strength I had unknowingly held onto evaporated. I was left feeling empty and totally tired. So I did what I at that moment felt like doing. I closed my eyes, ignoring Eli's calls and fear for me to stay awake. When I tried to open my eyes, they felt like someone had glued them closed. When I finally succeeded, I wish I hadn't. The light felt blinding and sent sharp pains to my head. I groaned in pain and clutched my head. "Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." I heard Eli's familiar voice, but it held tiredness, and sadness, maybe guilt. "Light," I chucked out, my throat dry and scratchy. Immediately I heard him shuffling around the room. "Okay, open your eyes." It sounded more like a beg than a confirmation. I opened them slowly and looked around the dimmed room. When I found Eli, I couldn't stop the gasp of surprise over his appearance. His eyes were baggy and had bruised-looking shadows under them. His hair had grown along with his facial hair and he looked utterly exhausted. He handed me a glass of water and I gulped it till I couldn't breathe. I ended up coughing from the moisture hitting my dry throat. Eli had moved to me and patted my back gently, talking soothingly to me. "Eli, what happened to you?" My voice still sounding a bit scratchy. "Kelsey, I'm so sorry," he began, but before I could ask why, he continued. "If I had paid more attention, or I'd gotten there sooner, I could have prevented everything." I shook my head. "It wasn't your fault. None of it," I denied. He seemed to break down even more. "Yes, it was. That Rouge was after me so personally, and when he seemed to know you are a white wolf, it only fueled him on. Had I not rejected you, you would have felt safe enough to tell me your secret. Had I not rejected you, we'd be fully mated and I would have found you sooner." He put his head down and I seen his shoulders begin to shake. I sighed and ran my fingers through his now longer hair. "Eli, please don't blame yourself. It's also my fault. I should have been more cautious." He finally lifted his head after a moment, and I felt my heart weighing down at his red, glossy eyes. "I'm okay now," I whispered, and he stood only enough to transfer to my bed. I watched as he slowly lifted his hand to my face, rubbing soothingly in a circle. "You wasn't when I brought you back. You were underweight, almost starved. You needed IV for a while of liquids because of dehydration, blood transfusion also. Then all the cuts, bruises, and broken bones. I almost asked you, Kelsey." I sat confused as I listened and digested what he had said. "Wait, but besides Nick, I feel fine." He took a deep breath. "You've been in a coma 3 weeks, he explained." I sat dumbfounded. I was. He simply nods. "Oh, I see." I bit my lip, then sighed. What? What happened to Tyler?" I was afraid to ask, but I needed to know. "He's alive. And doing very well again," he said, smiling, and I let a breath I didn't realize I held out. "Can I see him?" I asked him. For a moment, I believed he'd say no. "Yes, but not yet." He moved closer to me. I could feel his breath fanning along my cheek. I can't lie, it excited me for the possibility while feeling him. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Asking permission. When I didn't respond, he took it as a yes and crashed his lips against mine. Sparks and electricity exploded in every single nerve I had. I have never felt something more perfect in my life. I wrapped my arms around his neck, wanting to feel him against me, and he obliged, wrapping his free arm around my waist and lifting me onto his lap. My body felt like fire, but a good kind. I was on my own cloud with only Eli with me. I wanted it to last, but damn if you didn't need oxygen. When we pulled away, we both gasped for air. When our breathing was somewhat under control, he rested his forehead against mine and whispered words that I'd always wanted to hear, but at the moment I wasn't sure if he'd said it. "What did you say?" I asked when looking into his eyes. He smiled softly. "I love you," he said slowly so that I could comprehend. My whole body melted. He loves me. I've always wanted my mate to love me, and now I have that. I could feel and see her jumping and howling with joy. "I love you to Eli. I always have," I whispered back. And then his lips went to mine once again in a slow, loving kiss. Chapter 36. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. After the doctor came back to check me, giving me some pain meds, and basically a clean bill of health, did Eli allow me to get up and leave the room. The first thing on my mind after leaving the room was finding Tyler, which thankfully didn't take me long. He was sitting in the den, but what surprised me was seeing aficionados and Luna Jamie there along with Jason. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Luna. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. What are you doing here? I asked as I moved closer, my voice almost sounding normal. All their eyes snapped my way, and I was thrown off guard when Jamie began crying. I looked at aficionados in question as he rubbed her back soothingly. "We've been so worried, Kels," aficionados said gently. Tyler and Jason wasted no time in standing and hugging me between them. I enjoyed their comfort until I heard Eli's growl of warning. I looked at him to see him glaring at the two, and when I turned and looked at Jason, he was smirking. I shook my head. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I'm fine now. Just happy to be out. The Alpha and Luna stood, walked to me and hugged me tightly. They'd always been a family to me for that month I was with them, and I had secretly made a decision to stay and give Eli his date. "I'm so happy to see you awake, Kelsey," Jamie whispered in my ear before pulling away, giving me a watery smile. She then winked secretively at me as she spoke. "So you believe you up for the journey home?" I didn't even have a chance to fully process what she'd said before I was pulled back into a hard chest. I knew instantly it was Eli. His chest trembled with his growl. "She isn't leaving. She's staying with me." His voice daring them to try and take me. aficionados rose his eyebrows and smirked smugly. "If I remember correctly, her reason for being here is now completed. She is also a member of my pack." He had Eli there. It was true that I had been filled in on the two young male wolves being caught and are now being held in the cells awaiting a decision. And I was in Grocka-NS pack, so I couldn't stay without his permission. "Girl, she is my mate in the Moonlight's Luna," Eli argued. I sighed as they both seemed to argue over this and felt Eli's body begin to shake, and that's when I knew this had gone on far enough. I said strongly and firmly, surprising myself for a moment. I would like to stay for a while, if that's okay." Alpha Grocka M seemed to think about this for a moment. "I suppose that would be okay." I heard Eli huff irritably behind me, and I couldn't stop by a meal from coming to my face. "You want to stay?" Eli asked. I turned to look up into his eyes. I nodded yes. "Is that okay?" Butch bids his head eagerly. Jamie clapped her hands together. "Great, it's settled then." Chapter 37. A few months have passed since the kid DNAing, and Eli has been the sweetest person ever. He has always made sure I was comfortable. I finally agreed to go on a date with him a week after I woke up, and it was perfect. He is also the most possessive man I know, but then alphas are always worse than other wolves. A unmated wolf can't even look at me for look at me 5 seconds before Eli is ready to jump him and snap his neck for looking at me. But I love him, and since we've gotten so much closer and we've said our true feelings, I believe that I'm ready to give myself fully to him. I bit my lip in nervousness as I sit in the room waiting for Eli. He's been very patient with how far we go and waiting for me to be ready. He had done everything to gain my trust, and now he has it won. As I was in thought, I didn't notice Eli walk into the room until the sparks erupted on my face as he stroked my cheek. "Are you okay, baby?" He asked, his face full of concern. I nodded. I am. I wanted to talk to you about something. He sits down and watches me, waiting expectantly. I take a full breath. I'm ready to mate, I blurt out quickly. His eyes widen, but he chuckles. What was that, baby? You said it too quickly, he says, amused. I close my eyes. I'm ready to be fully mated to you. I say more clearly. I don't hear anything after a moment, so I open my eyes and see that his eyes had turned black with lust, but his jaw and hands were clenched. Are you sure, Kelsey? I can wait. I don't want to pressure you, has said husky, even though that alone sent shivers and wanting through me. I knew he wasn't sure. I'm ready, Eli, I say shyly. Chapter 38, Kelsey, Unforgettable Night PT. When I'm ready, Eli, I said shyly. If possible, his eyes turn even darker with lust, and I knew his wolf was joining us for this mating. I wasn't nervous or afraid because I knew they'd take care of me. Eli slowly grabbed me under the arms and placed me on his lap, my legs on each side of him. As I was straddling him, I could feel his manhood harden, and though normal virgins may be frightened, I became excited. I knew he was large, and a part of my mind wondered how he'd fit. He captured the back of my neck and pulled me forward, claiming my lips in a slow, passionate kiss. I responded immediately. Weaving my fingers through his hair, I tugged gently, which earned me a sexy as hell groan from him. He nipped at my lips, eking entrance, and I granted it. Parting my lips, his tongue plunged into my mouth, and for a moment we both fought for dominance, but in the end he won. The slow and passionate kiss had now turned into a hunger and need that only we could feed. His hands began to roam over my body. His hands at first rubbed my arms, but then they moved down my stomach. I arched into his touch and earned an appreciative growl that sent shivers down my spine. Eli wasted no more time. He had stripped me quickly, leaving me in only my panties as he laid me on the bed and stood looking down at me with lustful eyes. You're so fucking beautiful, he groaned out, his eyes trailing over my body. I could literally feel his eyes heating me up. I felt this intense urge to cover myself, and I assume he's seen the anxiety in my eyes because he began to remove his own cloths. I couldn't help but mentally swoon when he revealed his 8-pack and the delicious V-curve. I'm sure my eyes gave away my desire because I'm instantly enveloped in his warmth. The touch of his bare skin against mine not only sent newly formed heat and need through me, but the sparks and electricity of the mate bond. I moaned at the contact, and he made a grunt groan sound. I'm not sure I was so lost in what his hands were doing along with his mouth I wasn't even sure of my own name. His hands skimmed over my breast, fondling them before they were replaced with his mouth. His tongue flicked over my hard nipple, and I moaned loudly at the pleasure. I tugged roughly as him, making him moan. My hips bucked upwards when he bit down on my sensitive nipple. He moved to my other nipple to give it just as much attention. His hand slowly moved along my panties, touching and testing my wetness. You're so wet for me, baby, he slid slowly down my body, his tongue leaving a wet trail along the way. When he made it to my panty line, he stopped. I'm unsure why, but when he stopped it made that certain part of my body ache, and I whimpered with the feeling. Share, baby, I've got you. He cooed to me and stroked his thumbs over my hip bones before hooking them in my panties and pulling them ever so slowly down my legs and tossing them onto the floor along with our discarded cloths. He grabbed my thighs and spread them. I instantly tried to shut them, but his shit prevented me from doing that. He kissed my thigh. Then he nipped and licked. I was breathless. What he was making me feel was intoxicating, addicting. I never thought I could feel so much from so little. He pushed his fingers against my entrance as his mouth worked magic against my sensitive nub. I felt almost a teach spread to my lower abdomen, and I thrashed out on the bed as much I could, but it wasn't much since Eli had his witch arm laying over my hip, holding me in place. I panted, begging Eli over and over for what I don't know. But it seems he knew, because I suddenly felt his finger thrust into me, and that's when our building seems to break free, making me scream. After my body went limp, I felt Eli kiss his way back up my body. As he got closer, I wrapped my arms and neck. He kisses my hair and bubbled lightly. Are you ready, baby? H purred in my ear. I nodded, unable to speak at the moment. I felt him align his manhood in my entrance. He whispered sweet nothings in my ear and apologized as he thrusted D forward, fully entering me. I gasped and yelped in pain, trying to move away as it felt like I was ripping in two. I didn't realize that I was crying until he began wicking my face. I opened my eyes and met his gaze. His face looked like it was in pain, but his eyes were soft and held concern in them. "The pain will pass, baby." I nodded and took a shaky breath. After a moment I tested the pain by moving my hips, which drew a moan from both Eli and myself. The pain was now forgotten. I felt nothing but pleasure. Please move." H said nothing as he drew out slowly, then thrusted forward. My nails dug into his shoulders as he began moving in a slow rhythm, still letting me adjust to his size. "You feel so good, baby. Tu m'as agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilden. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." When I looked up at him, I noticed his eyes had dark, and which let me know that Xavier was joining us. So I allowed Sierra to join as well. "Triple A8. I moaned as his pack quickened. He leaned up on his knees, holding my hips as he began to move frantically. At his roughness, I felt the tension in my stomach comes back. I wrapped my legs around his waist, grabbing the sheets to hold myself in place. Soon my back was off the bed as I find my release. Eli reaches under me and pulls me up to where I'm now straddling his lap, still pumping I and out of me frantically. He tilts my K-neck and kisses and licks the curve of my neck when suddenly he bites down, Mark in me as his. At first it hurt, but only for a second. Then I felt so much pleasure I came again. This time Eli groaned his own release. We sat there for a moment, catching our breath. When he seemed to catch his first, he laid me down, and I guess he went to the bathroom because next thing I know he was cleaning me. I was so tired I couldn't even blush when the warm rag would get away both our excitement from between my legs. When he was done, he threw the rag and climbed into bed, pulling me to his chest. I couldn't have been more comfortable. I was on the verge of sleep when he whispered against my ear, "I love you, Kelsey, more than anything or anyone." There I let sleep take me. Chapter 39, Kelsey. I woke to warmth surrounding me. When I opened my eyes, I couldn't help a smile that graced my face when I seen Eli still sleeping soundly beside me. I reached over and ran my finger down his cheek, enjoying the feel of his little stubble of hair. I then ran my finger down his neck to his bare chest, just now noticing the blanket was down low on his waist. I ran my fingers down his arm, then sighed, sighing at how smooth he felt. When I finally looked back up, I gasped in surprise as I looked into his eyes. Blushing a bright red, I tried to duck my head, embarrassed for being caught, but Eli grabbed my chin, making me look at him. "This is all yours, baby. No reason to be embarrassed for touching or looking," he said so softly I melted. He grabbed my hand and placed it on his chest. Then I roamed over his abs, smiling. "I love you, Kelsey." My hand stopped and I pecked his lips. "I love you to Eli. So much." We stayed locked up in our room for hours and hours, talking, cuddling, and of course making love, but when we finally leave I can't stop the blush as everyone takes a sniff. Eli simply puts his hand around my waist, holding me to his chest. Of all days, it seems like the whole pack is around us. I start to feel anxiety from having them around me, and when suddenly they all bow their heads, I look around confused. Eli must have seen the confusion because he even whispered in my ear, "They are showing their respect for their Luna." I bite my lip to fake the blush I feel and nod. "Hey everyone," I say, stuttering. They all lift their heads and Eli waves them away. I sigh in relief as they all go about their business. I spent the next few hours learning the responsibilities of being Luna. After Eli took me out to dinner and we spent the night cuddled watching TV, I was finally happy with my life. I had the mate I'd always wanted and needed. My pack was finally turning a new leaf and began to respect one another. I don't think our pack will ever have to worry about discrimination towards gays again. Why? Because this pack is led by an alpha and an omega. The end. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.